Before we get started in today's tutorial, I just want to throw a huge shout out and thank you to the art department over at Man Sewing. There's several great folks on that team, but one of my very favorites is Allie. Now, Allie has been assigned with the challenge of interpreting my sketches and hieroglyphics into the fantastic printables that you all find in the descriptions below these videos. So here's a quick picture of Allie. Hey, wait a second, that's Ducky, her dog, and barely even a dog. I think it's more of an Ewok, but fantastic. That'll bring us right out of this world for today's quilting tutorial. Whoa, coming in for a landing here to talk you through the supplies we're going to use for the out of this world quilt. It's all basic raw edge fusible applique, and we're going to build the entire thing flat right here on this background fabric. This is a glow in the dark. That's right, the stars are going to glow in the dark. Fabrics from Michael Miller, and we're using for all of our accent pieces, all of our applique pieces, Fairy Frost. Of course, this could be a stash burner for you. I chose the Fairy Frost because I wanted the sheen and the texture and some of the glitter in the pieces for that extra shimmer for out of this world. Quarter yards, half yards are going to fit for most all of your shapes you're using there. And I'm not sure if I said, but it's 1.25 yards for the background, a nice big square. Let's run through the colors so you know where we're using them though, right? So starting down here at the bottom, the blue and the green, these are going to be for my earth. So we've got the earth here. The dark and light silvers, those dark and light silvers are used for the spacecraft or the sewing craft if you want there. The dark and light purples, these are for the vapor trail coming out of the earth, chasing the sewing machine. The orange, red, and yellow will be used for flames, or if you want to do like comets or additional planets or whatever you're doing around in the quilt. We're just going to kind of play, and I'm going to show you at the end of the video the way I use a rotary cutter just to fussy cut and freeform shapes for you as well. Now, in the description below the video, we have the printables. And the printables for you here are several pages, but you get all of the pieces in full size. So these are going to lay out like this. You're going to have several pages. There's 4 to create your sewing machine. There, let's see if I've got that organized for you. And so you can see there are alignment marks. You're just going to align those and then tape them together. Bring that a little closer, see if you can see it better like that. Okay, so again, just line those marks up, tape them together, and then we're going to trace. All of the shapes are transposed and ready to go for you. You've got a few more for your vapor trail. So the vapor trail here has got 4 pages like that also. Again, just looking at your alignment marks to put those together. And then the last one will have the earth. You'll notice that there are the names of the colors I was using. So on the earth, you'll have a big circle for the blue, and then here are the shapes for the actual continents. Now, here's a fun trick. I created that earth using Google Earth and an image. If you look closely right here, my spaceship is blasting out of Morro Bay, California, where my home studio is at. So if you wanted to make your spaceship blasting out of your hometown, you can find yourself somewhere here in the US where you could rotate an image in Google Earth and then reprint out. I thought that was a pretty fun trick there. Okay, so once you have all of your printables taped together and organized for your shapes, then you take your fusible web. And I'm always using the Heat and Bond Feather Light. I love this stuff because we can layer it up. There's a paper side and a shiny glue side. All of our drawing and pressing happens on the paper side. Notice right here I have some X's. Those X's right there are going to be for cutouts. The cutouts will be seen like back here. This is the hand wheel on the sewing machine. And so those cutouts are so that you can see the space and the sewing machine there behind it. Okay? So when you see an X, you're just going to cut through, but we cut through after we've already fused the fusible web to the back side of our fabrics. So here you see I've traced them out. I've already pre-separated part of my vapor trail. So the next step is you're going to cut these out per color section. And then those just get pressed right onto the back side of the fabrics, as I just said. Let's get this out of the way. So once we have all of our shapes traced and ironed, I went ahead and cut them all out of the appropriate color fabrics. And for my layout, I leave the paper on the back. Now, keeping the paper on the back when you're doing these fun, fussy kind of design as you go quilt allows you to trim or cut into your applique shapes if you need again later. So what I'm trying to say is leave the paper on until you're sold for your design, and then once we're sold on our design, we're going to peel the paper off individually, and then we'll press it all down at the very end. So for this out of this world quilt, I start with my earth and I kind of line it up, and the edges of the earth and the shapes of our continents there will kind of touch on the edges. And then you can, like I said, rotate that so it's however you like. Now I'm going to kind of bring it down into the bottom corner-ish of the quilt. The next thing I lay in is the vapor trail. Now these shapes have a bit of overlap created. You saw that on your printables. There were some dotted lines, and those dotted lines allow for just a little overlap. So when you lay your pieces out like this, you wouldn't want to have the background fabric showing through. We would want to have this overlap here. And again, we're just free setting these at the moment. And then we're going to build in our sewing machine. Okay, so let's start with the body of the sewing machine in about the right location. I then put on my rocket booster for the back, which is known as the hand wheel. And if you look real close on that one, it's got a little bit of a point to it. So the point faces back like that. Then I'm going to put in some of the highlights to the sewing machine itself, because the wing parts will lay on top of these. I have this crazy affection for trying to draw designs of sewing machines in things that are not actually the, well, what am I trying to say here? They're not really sewing machines. So I've tried to draw like off-road vehicles that look like sewing machines, and tattoo guns that look like sewing machines, and of course my rocket ship. So I'm always goofing around with what a sewing machine might look like if it wasn't really a sewing machine. Now, let's bring you back to focusing in on this rocket. One of the trickier pieces to lay in, and tricky is definitely an overstatement, was this back wing. So just look for this little opening. It goes in the harp, or the opening of the sewing machine there, and it's going to poke through so that you see that wing come out the back. And then your big main front wing is going to sit into the machine a ways, and then it comes right out like that, so that you have both wings, gives you that great proportionality of the machine. And then that's just our little logo. You could of course create your own maybe monogram on that. The presser foot goes down, and yes, I am aware the presser foot is heading in the wrong direction. However, the presser foot doubles as a laser system for this in case we have to go into battle in outer space. So I had to rotate our presser foot so I had a forward-facing laser cannon. The take-up lever up here, it's also been rotated, and that's just so simply for aerodynamics, right? As we're blasting into outer space, we want to make sure that we've got a nice travel. I've taken your spool holder, we've converted that into our antenna for our radio guidance system, and the rest of it is all just fun. So again, there's your sewing machine coming together. Super, super easy. We have the flames here. We have these flames, and they're all drawn out for you, but I'm going to show you here in just a second how to play with some of our fun tools, our rotary cutting tools, to create our own shapes. One of those shapes will be something like these. We also have these drawn for you, but these are kind of like those starbursts that are happening, you know, the twinkling of our stars out in outer space. So I might be placing some of these around as well. So let's just slide this out of the way real quick and show you some of these techniques. Now, first we're going to do one of these planets down here, as you see. So this is maybe my Mars with a highlight. And of course, I'm going to use my rotary cutting compass. I love this thing, and I have it set for about a 3.5, 4 inch circle. And what we're going to do now is I have red, orange, and yellow fabrics that already have fusible web on the back of them. Notice there's no markings. We're just going to play with this, like I said. And so if I wanted my red and my orange to be the highlights for my sewing machine, or excuse me, for my Mars, I'm going to set them fabrics together so they don't slip as much. I've got fusible web on both corners all the way around. I'm going to make sure I get a full circle. So I'm just checking right now to make sure I'm in my radius that I need. I'm going to pull my cover back, give a little spin, and I should have 2 full circles here. How easy is that, right? I love this tool. Cover the blade so I'm safe. Now, I wanted to make the highlight. So what I do then is I have both circles that are the same size. you'll be able to take the orange now, and I come to about a 2/3 mark back, so not at the halfway point. And then I'm going to start to cut in to my circle, and I'm just doing some random little hips and valleys. I like to usually have one that goes longer than the rest. And of course, this is just my personal design ideas. These are just fun. This is a skill you may need to have. I have some other ideas coming up that are in the works. So this is something we may be doing again later on, one of my other space quilts. Okay, almost done for you here. And then we're going to come out to finish like that. So now these two pieces are separated, and one of them, the larger of the two, is going to fit right there on top of my circle to form a planet, and then that planet can be dropped right into our quilt somewhere like here. Now, one of the things you might want to think about is if we do put in a light source or a sun or something like that, this would be the highlight. So if my sun was up above my sewing machine up here, then that light source would be coming down and creating, that's just how you work with your shadows when you're playing with a little bit of fun and perspective this way. Okay. Now, another fun thing we can do, I was talking about, is just building these flames up in here. Now, for the flames, they are drawn for you in the printables, but I'll often use my little 18mm rotary cutter, and I'm going to take a couple of my different fabrics, and I'm just going to basically go up maybe 1.5 inches or so, kind of in that curved motion, and then I'm going to bring it right back down to kind of form these little wedgie shapes. And once you have one going, then a lot of them just become super easy because you can just cut in and make new little swirl shapes. Up, back down. So let me get you a few other colors real quick. So I'm going back to my scraps of my orange and my red. Here we go. If you can get ambidextrous and have them go the other way, that can be fun. I seem to struggle that way mentally. I always want to have right-handed flames, I guess. Let's get a few orange pieces in there and cut them different sizes. Like this. Let's get one more. We always decorate in odd numbers, right? So let's decorate in odd numbers today. Okay, so that's another fun little technique. And now we're going to put these here real quick so we can get them organized behind our spaceship. Bring this back into the camera for us. And then these could just be organized. Now the fun of this is we're going to overlap our colors a little bit so that it starts to look like our flames. And you can use these techniques with either that little 18mm rotary cutter or the circular cutter to make all kinds of fantastic different shapes that you can just play with. Follow me again to the quilt. Look at this. We've done a Saturn. Now the Saturn itself is real easy because I did the same 2-circle trick we did with Mars, and then I just made an oval, cut the hole in the oval, and slid those through. Up here is a comet. So I've got basically a circular shape, and then the same thing I did with the rotary cutters for the flames behind the sewing machine. And then just to point out again, here's a couple of the starbursts. These are the ones that are the size of your printable. And then here's a big one up here, and I can show you how to make that real quick as well. I'm going to slide this back out of the way, and we're just going to do it out of our orange because it's right here. So with something like that, basically it would be like an inverted circle. So I'm going to cut and make an arch, then another arch, another arch, and then I just connect my arches. And you saw me, I actually spun the fabric, and that helped make it quite easy. Not the most symmetrical of sorts, but again, another fun basic starburst that you could add right up there in your quilt. So once you're all done playing and designing all of your awesome raw edge applique pieces, remember, you're just designing as you go. You're going to take your hot and dry iron. Of course, you've peeled all the paper off the back of all your objects, and that's when you take a last moment and make sure everything's lined up just the way you like it, because once it's done, you're going to go ahead and press and lift and press and lift with that hot and dry iron for about 3 to 4 seconds, all the way across. Everything will be anchored down. Now, to secure for free motion machine quilting is real easy. I literally started around the outside edge of all of my applique pieces. And the trick is you stitch around the outside first, and then when you come back in and quilt around some of the inner objects, it creates more loft, it creates more pucker in the shape, more of a three-dimensional look. So after you've pressed all your pieces down, you've sandwiched your quilt, you're gonna go free motion around the edge of all of your pieces. If you wanna add some fun stitching in the background here, there's even glow-in-the-dark thread now available, so you can put that up in there. There's a lot of fun ways to really embellish and make this quilt your own. We know you're loving these raw edge applique quilts, and of course we're loving our printables, and we love you, Allie. Thank you for being part of today's video. I have got to get into this rocket booster spaceship sewing machine and take it for a cruise through the stars. We'll see you next time here at Man Sewing.